Edgar County is facing a major problem when it comes to their jail. Coming up, a conversation with Sheriff Edward Motley on a building that's in dire need of repairs. Stay with us. At Issue is on location and starts now. Welcome and thank you for joining us for this edition of At Issue on Location. I'm your host, Kelly Runyon. A crisis situation, that's what Edgar County officials say they're facing when it comes to their county jail. The building is out of date and it's in major need of repairs. In fact, the facility has failed multiple inspections. Problem is, the county has no money to fix those problems. And to talk more about what the county is facing and the issues with their county jail, we're joined today by Edgar County Sheriff Edward Motley. Thank you for inviting us into your facility today and also to talk about a lot of things with this building, your tenure as sheriff, and also the future of this facility. And I know you said there's a lot to say about this. So let's, you took office back in 2010 and you inherited this problem,
yes, I did,
so to speak. But let's go back even further and talk about when the structure has had some renovations over the years, but when was it initially built and then subsequent additions to it?
Approximately 1892. I believe there was 7 different buildings at one time. This one probably 6 or 7 years after that. It became the normal jail, which housed the few inmates and the sheriff and his family. They did all the work here. The family cooked the meals for the inmates. The cooking, the cleaning, everything was done by the staff here who actually lived here. So.
And then over the years, there has been some additions made to the facility. Can you talk about those and then actually give us kind of a layout of the facility as we know it today?
What you see when you look at the front, that's a new addition. That was done in 1984. And that was also the time they added the east and west cell block. They added 2 isolation cells. They added the booking room. Dispatching was added at that point. In approximate in the 90s, this office where we are right now, this portion of the buildings was added also. It was more for staffing.
What is today, there's multiple cell blocks, and let's talk about capacity as far as how many inmates can be housed here and what location, and then also the staffing that you have at the facility.
When I came in, there was 26 beds. Through the renovations that I was able to add, I added 9 more beds. I double bunked the 2 isolation cells. The east and west cell blocks were added another 7 beds because they were one-man cells or one-person cells. The older portion, of course, I couldn't add anything up there. Ceilings are too low. Not enough showers. So.
Let's talk about. Obviously, we're in a jail facility, and you deal with inmates on a regular basis and have for your total career in law enforcement. Back to Edgar County, what do you see as far as crime in the county? What has been the trend? What now is the crime of choice, I guess, if you will?
I see more of the burglars right now going on. There's a lot of thefts in the county and the outside. And of course, with the meth problem, meth is being changed a lot. There's doing a lot of shake and bake stuff. It's just using a 2-liter bottle. And it's easily made. It's quickly made. You can hide it a lot easier. It's shorter time in making it. Of course, people breaking and entering, going into homes, going into barns, taking 4-wheelers. Anything small enough to raise the money to buy the meth.
Do you find with the county that this facility is always at or near capacity, and what is that what is that figure? How many can you house here?
So I can hold 37 right now. If I had to, I bought 8 extra cots, which is really shouldn't do it, but I don't like to be overflowed. Again, when I first took office, we only had the 26 beds, and people were sleeping on the floors, which I did not want. We went out, like I say, and bought cots. At least I'd get them off the floor. It still wasn't ideal, but no one was sleeping on the floor. So.
When you decided, when you had this thought that I want to be the sheriff of Edgar County, it was fairly obvious that number one on the agenda was going to be this dilapidated jail. Why would you want to put yourself in a position that you were going to have to solve this crisis? What was your thought process as far as I'm going to have to deal with this?
Thought process was, my wife and I prayed about this, whether or not I should run for the election of sheriff, and we believe we got our answer. And when I look at, I did not know the jail was quite like this. I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was the damages, the repairs that it needed until I walked in the door. And of course, my experience is 22 years with the federal side, much larger facilities. When you come from a place that you hold 1,200 and you drop down to someplace with 37, big difference. But it just was not in the condition it should have been. I mean, I have never seen anything quite like this. I've had people come in, take tours, and they look at it and they go like, they thought they were looking at third world countries. That's how bad it is. And it should not be like that. True, they've committed a crime. We got to house them here, but they're human. And they get the basic rights. There are basic rights for criminals, inmates, however you want to put it.
Okay, I want to know what it looked like when you walked in. When you walked into this, when you took office day one and you had to step foot in this facility, take me through what you saw and what you looked at and what you witnessed and what you heard, all of that.
Actually, the first day walking in after being sworn in, I actually had Indiana State Police here with their canine unit. I wanted them to walk through this place and go for drugs, anything that was here, if there was anything. Some people laughed, they said there's nothing here, but yet the dog hit on a lot of places in this jail that somewhere that at one time or another there was drugs here. I can't say that it's totally clean. We watch everything, we shake people down in and out. Unfortunately, the people who come and visit sometimes, and I don't mean the visitors to the inmates through the glass, are vendors, and I hate to use the word chaplains, volunteers. That's the person who usually brings things in. And our policy really, we don't shake them down. We do look at them, see what they have in hand. But going back to walking through the door, and because I went around with the dog, and all I could do was just shake my head. I mean, there was storage closets just full of junk, things we have started cleaning up, finding had been there for years and years. It was outdated. I mean, it should have been thrown away years ago. Trash on the floor, the graffiti all over the walls. I wish you could have seen what it looked like in the hallway that you came in today. That is probably the best it's ever looked in a long time. We go to the old section, wires hanging down, lights not covered, mattresses torn, again, no painting. Just dirty, dingy looking, rusted in the showers. And when I saw that, I cringed, because people are taking showers, no shower shoes. So, of course, the next day I told one of my jailers, go ahead, let's order the shower shoes at least, so they're not staying in that rust.
Structurally, plumbing, brick, mortar, foundation, what is this status of that?
Still, it is what it is. The brick is falling apart. I got cell blocks upstairs that bricks have fallen out. We've taken them out. I've got doors up there we had to remove because they were falling off. Locks. I couldn't lock anybody's cell door. We could lock the block itself, but to put somebody in their room and lock a door, locks will burn out. No locks. Plumbing, a lot of leaks. Toilets weren't working. Since then, we of course fixed all the toilets now. I haven't shut down. I had to shut down one couple units because of the shower upstairs leaking to the second floor, which took away 2 beds from me. We finally got that repaired. I had to close the shower off totally, and by doing that, I had to remove a wall. It's a metal wall, so that the top floor, they can go back and forth. Bricks, again, on the floors, a lot of chips in the floor that's concrete. Outside, there's things falling apart, the mortar, the big bricks. I mean, there's some big stones outside, but you can see where it's starting to wear.
After that first day, what made you come back a second day? And then from there, since you're, as we mentioned, you've been in office, you've been in charge here since 2010. What have you been able to do? I mean, cash is strapped. There's not a lot of options, but given the laundry list of problems that you've outlined, what have you been able to accomplish over time to make this facility better?
Well, first we started locking doors. There's several doors that always were open. I said we're going to keep these doors locked. The fence in the back was always open. I said we're going to make it a 2-tier because I didn't have a true sally port. Anybody go out the door, they're gone. So now, again, the fence is locked. We started doing the floors, scrubbing, buffing. Started painting the hallway. First time you walk in, it looks fresh. Now, then we moved to the cell blocks. I hired a young lady, and she became our painter. She found out that she could paint. We moved all the inmates out and kind of had to double them up. Got rid of all the graffiti off the wall and repainted everything. So kind of freshened it up. Working on the lights, putting the security covers back over the lights, getting rid of the extension cords that were hanging down, which is, besides being a safety, it's a thing where somebody, if they want to hang themselves, they could, which causes me an issue because the way we're built, we have only one officer on, and I'm sure we can talk about my staffing issue. That's a big problem here. If they're down here and somebody's on the top floor trying to hang themselves, I don't know it unless somebody screams, and most of the inmates will. They'll say something's going on, and yes, we will run up there, but with one person on, it's a nightmare. And we've been cited for that, and that's one of those non-compliant areas. And we have to have 2. And right now, I've changed that. I've got a part-timer on who's on during the daytime. It kind of works, not a swing shift so much, but staggered in from the morning into the evening. So it's kind of like having 2 on, at least at the busiest times.
Well, let's talk about staffing since you brought it up. I think you bring up a good point. There would be a jail administrator, and they would have to watch the whole facility.
I wished I had a jail administrator.
So how
statute says anything over 25 inmates, you have to have a jail administrator. And anytime you have, and plus if you have 2 floors, you have to have 2 officers on. So actually, in reality, on a day watch, there should be a jail administrator and 2 officers.
Today, there should be.
There should be, yes. I'm the jail administrator as sheriff, plus being sheriff. We've been cited for it. If I had 24 or less, I still have to have 2 people because of that old section. It has to be able, because you have to make 30-minute checks, and it's almost impossible to go up and check everything, come back down here, do all your reports, feed an inmate, do the laundry, book somebody in, book people out, go to the window, do the bonding. Somebody wants to pay a bond, and the person has to go up, get the money. Somebody turns himself in. Then you got PD, Police Department of Paris, comes over, they picked up somebody. There's my officer, got to come back in, put him in the holding cell. This person runs ragged. And
have you had any problems being short-staffed? I know not
yet.
Under your term, but this facility has had escapes happen. Yes. But under your tenure, have you had any problems because of what you've just explained?
No escapes, and I thank God on that one. But by keeping doors locked and having staff be very vigilant and make sure doors are locked, even taking people to court. I hired a part-time person to help us out because we get stuck, I shouldn't say stuck. The court cases comes up with maybe 7 or 8 people. Well, I will not let one person go over there with that many people. It should be like 1 to 4. So either myself, my chief deputy, my detective will also go with the part-timer. And then they stagger the court cases sometimes. But again, that officer can't leave. He's still here doing everything else because he's the one that gets all 7 people ready. Of course, things could be going on in the other blocks while he's down here, of course.
You mentioned in this conversation a couple of different times about citations, and I think that's something that we need to discuss. Talk about the process. The state comes in, checks over the facility. How often does that happen? And I know at this juncture, the state's attorney general is now involved, and they've got an eye on Edgar County. Mm-hmm. So talk about that.
When I first came in office, there was an organization, a federal organization called NIC, National Institute of Corrections. They are there to help smaller state facilities, jails. They offer a lot of training, and they also do inspections. I used to be part of that years ago, that we go out and inspect prisons and make sure they're doing the things the way they should be. I sent them a letter after I was elected and said I would like an independent inspection. We corresponded for a little bit, and I want to say March of 2011, they came in. It was a one person. He spent 3 days going top to bottom, inside every place, taking pictures. At the end of the week, he did his report, and I had the county board, I had the state's attorney, I want to say one of the judges was there, some of the county, other county officials. And I'd say the first thing that came out of his mouth was, you need to shut this place down. But we'll get ahead of that. We'll be able to, what I'm making recommendations for you, we should be able to get it functional, if you want to say it that way. And then the state was here. IDOC came to the meeting also. NIC also looked at the past inspections for the past 10 years. And then the state comes in once a year. And the first time they came down, they called and said, we're coming to inspect. And at that point, I also told them, I said, I've read all the inspection reports from the years past. I know what I've seen since I've been there, and I know what I've read. I want you to do a full inspection. If you have to bleed on me, bleed. Take that red pen and show all the areas. Mm-hmm. And everything they showed me, I already knew. But I want it documented. And from that point on, I said, now we're going to start trying to put this place back together. And that's when we started trying to do the repairs, trying to do all the renovations that we could with, again, no money. The county, when I went to them one time and said, hey, these are things I need. This is how bad this is. I'm going to need some money. And they put $20,000 in a budget for me to try to start fixing things. Of course, there wasn't enough money, but we did what we could.
I guess the obvious question is, how many inspections can you fail?
Before they come
before what?
Well, states, they finally sent a letter to me saying, if things don't improve, we will follow up, and we're going to send a letter to our director for recommendations. And if the director feel it necessary, he will turn this over to the state's attorney general's office to help you get into compliance. They can either come in and force you to close, and then that means there's additional money against the county to put the inmates someplace else. And not just to house them, now I got transportation costs. I do have one jail if I decide to close the old section, which I'm really leaning towards, which means I will try to take our minimus inmates, those who are serving sentences, because I don't have to go pick them up every day for court, but we're talking $35 a day. And if I take just 10 of them, that is going to cost the county a lot of money.
So when will you find out what, if the state's attorney general's office has come in, they've They have said there's problems. Will they lay down a decision and say it's going to have to close? Or I guess we need to talk about options. You mentioned one option is to close the facility, ship inmates somewhere else. I'd have to believe that's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars when you add that up
Yes, it
a
is.
year. So talk about those figures, and let's talk about options.
And again, it's if I can find a jail close by that can take all of them.
Well, yeah, because they have to come to and from court. Like you said, it's not just those that are housed here. If they have a pretrial hearing, a motion hearing, whatever it may be, and the defendant's ordered to appear,
We have to go pick them
you
up.
have to go get them, bring them back. So
Yes.
let's talk about the cost of, hypothetically, this facility closes, and that's the option.
The option, okay, let's say 30 today inmates out there. There's 30 inmates are going to be serving sentences, going to court. Coles County may not be able to take all 30 of my inmates. I may have to send them to Clark County, some of them there. I may have to send them to Douglas County. Now I've got 3 different counties I may have to deal with at different rates, anywhere from $35 to $45 a day. Again, we talk about transportation. I have to send an officer to go pick that person up. And then if somebody gets arrested, they bring them here for booking. Now, am I going to make the PD take them to someplace else? Or are they going to bring them here? And if they bring them at midnight, do I have somebody on? I mean, I got to pay somebody to sit here for 8 hours. It'll be a nightmare for that part of it.
It's a crisis, as we've talked
Very
about.
much
So
so.
another option is a new facility. And that's, you smirk about that, but
It's just, we can't afford that yet. I mean, but the state can say, you will build a new facility. And that means we're going to have to raise money. Do I want to try to do a referendum for a public tax, a safety tax? That would be about 0.5%. And how long is it going to take to raise $10 million? You can borrow the money, then you got to pay it back. There was a statute I found, I can't quote the number, that DOC, if they had the money, I don't think DOC has the money right now, but let's say a $10 million jail, they can pay up to the portion to build just the jail, not the sheriff's office. So up to $4 million. So now I still would have to look for another $6 million. I've talked to
Clark
our
County,
Senate-
they just built a jail. I'm sure you've probably had many conversations over there with them about how
with
they
Jerry
did it.
Parsley, yes. I've had our state senator, I've had our state rep here, and our U.S. congressman has talked to about coming down to take a tour. Everybody wants to see it, but yet we just haven't had the solutions that we need. I have put together a small short-term solutions, long-term goals for the county board, which I want to present to them next month. The things that we can do to try to keep the state from closing us. Does it mean closing the old part of the jail? Yes. Can I get away with again, we're talking $35 a day for at least 10 inmates per day, and those are the ones I won't have to go pick up. Then I have work release inmates. They work here in the county. Do you put the hardship on them and send them someplace? Then they got to find a way to go to work.
Ultimately, what do you see as a solution? And we've got a couple of minutes left here in our conversation here. What do you think is the best solution, and what do you think will be the solution?
The best solution, of course, is to start thinking about building a new facility. I am going to a seminar, NIC puts this on, it's called PONY, Planning on New Institutions. They take you from the beginning stages to the end and things that you should do. They want the county board chairman, they want myself, the chief jailer or jail administrator, and one other board member. I always like to say this, it's taxpayer dollars, I know that, but the federal government's paying for this trip out there, so to show you everything you need, we're going in August, so we should learn a lot then. But they should have been planning for a new jail probably 50 years ago, or at least thinking about how to renovate this place. Everybody thinks that we're small, we're not going to need the bed space. This place has grown over the last 50 years, I mean, as far as criminals go. So hopefully, in short term, speaking to the Attorney General's office and IDOC, I want to be able to show them that these are the improvements we've made. And they've seen improvements since they come down through inspect. They always show the improvements that we've made. But I don't want to close. I don't want to close the facility down. Like I say, we don't have the money. It's going to be very costly if we do.
Yeah, it's very much so. I thank you for the conversation today. You've definitely got a lot of things to consider
Yes.
for this facility and for the county in the months and potentially years to come. But I thank you for the interview today and for bringing us to the facility.
Thank you.
And if there's a topic you'd like to discuss on At Issue, please email us at weiu@weiu.net. For At Issue, I'm your host, Kelly Runyon. Thanks for joining us.